Personal Finance GPS 3, the student will explain how changes in monetary and physical policy can have an impact on an individual's spending and saving choices. A, give examples of who benefits and who loses from inflation. Obviously, there are people that lose from inflation, like people who have saved a lot of money for their retirement. As they've saved that money's becoming less and less valuable through inflation. People that are just holding their money, off in a shoebox somewhere. Those people lose from inflation, and pretty much everybody loses in general from inflation. But who benefits is typically certain types of lenders and investors that earn money. Let's say during hard times, it's like inflation-proof type situation, and really the government benefits from it, because as taxes are remaining the same, it may be a 30% tax on $100, but if that $100 becomes $200 because of inflation, instead of earning $30 for every 100, you're earning 60. So the government earns more tax dollars with inflation. They get a bigger slice of the pie. It may not seem like it, but they get a lot more money to operate with throughout inflation. Okay. Personal Finance GPS number 3B, define progressive, regressive, and proportional taxes. Very important one right here. These are tax systems that are set up throughout the world. The first one I'm going to start with is a proportional tax. This has been proposed in our country. It's known as a flat tax, which would be a 10% tax across the board. Whether you were Bill Gates or whether you were under the poverty threshold, you'd pay 10% across the board. This would not generate as much tax dollars, because Bill Gates currently pays 35% taxes, and we would basically lose 25% of his taxes and all the wealthy people's taxes just to gain 10% of somebody who needs that money very, very much so. So it's not really gaining very much ground in our country, but that is an example of it, which is known as a flat tax. The next type of tax that I'm going to talk about is a regressive tax. This is where the poor are taxed actually at a higher percentage than the wealthy. Typically you'll see that in a third world country that's trying to invite businesses and wealthy people to come to their country and live and start to generate wealth at the top. They do that by offering a low tax rate. The poor people then get jobs generated for them, which is better than having nothing at all. But they do get taxed for that money. Typically it's still low, and again, those are in third world countries, and it's a very unstable situation, because there's a lot more, there's more rich people than there are poor people. So, there are more poor people than there are rich people. So that obviously doesn't make sense. Now, a progressive tax. This is the big one. This is the one that our country uses. Our federal income tax is a progressive tax. We start out with the lowest level paying nothing, going all the way up, 25, 27, 30, 32, 35% for the wealthiest individuals in our country. So the more you make, the higher percentage of your of your profits that you'll pay into taxes. That is a progressive style, and that's what we use. Another example of a progressive tax would be a sales tax. You may think that it's a proportional because everybody pays the same 7 or 8 cents for every dollar, and so whether you're rich or poor, you still pay 7 cents. So it's a flat. No, it's not, because typically 99% of the time, wealthy people buy more than poor people. So because of that, wealthy people will pay more on an increase in sales tax than poor people. However, an increase in sales tax will lead to people that when they're poor, the poor people will get hurt by that a lot more, because they need that money more. The wealthy people will just complain because it goes up, by a penny on every dollar on big purchases, which could add up. So that's how it affects. An increase in sales tax affects different income groups.